All right, folks, how y'all doing? We'll check out this chat. I want to fix this all up. Rob will be right back. He's doing a phone call right now. And, wow, it seems like the news is just coming in like crazy today. All right, let's take care of this. There we go. Oh, there's my mug. There's my puppy, too. All right. There's Rob, but as you can see, he's busy. So I'm just going I'll just put him back in the green room. Okay, let's check out the comments so far. Well, you guys were coming in early today. Let's see. We're starting early today. So Swan P just got off work today. Bring that up. Michael, what's up, Haps? Hey, not much, man. Maybe it was me. No mistake. Well, you know what? We're so new at this. I was afraid that I actually was broadcasting when I was just setting up for the show. So I actually had to go on to YouTube and it said I wasn't. So that's good. Hi, y'all. That's me. Hey, let's see. Hey. Yes, I'm feeling better today. I was not feeling good yesterday. This morning, this afternoon, I'm finally feeling better now. The weather is clearing out. I'm very sensitive to barometric pressure. And once the sun comes out, I start feeling better. Yes, I did make a new intro. However, for some reason, it is not uploading onto the yard stream. So maybe next time. It's 3D chess, man. I'm not gonna, don't worry about that, man. I just know things are being set up by the right people, and you know who I'm talking about. Yep, he was setting up, and he's still setting up. Let's see what he's up to now. Yep, he's still playing one on his phone, so we'll just put him right back in the green room. Yeah, he's out. He's been out working, helping his kid's car. Yes, attention on deck. I do not know. I will ask Rob about that, so I'll highlight that, and we'll get back to that. Hi, Steve. Hi, Arlene. You know, I like the music. Let's get the music while we're doing this. There we go. Put it down low. Better than nothing, I guess, right? All right, so back to the comments. Yep, doing a lot better. Yeah, there is some movement on that. I can't get into specifics, but yes, there's movement on that. Howdy, howdy. Hello, Desert Dweller. Hello, Arlene. Thank you, Desert Dweller. Hi, Julie. I think we might be trying to get you in this evening, Julie. What else we got? Thank you, Julie. Let's see. Yep. Yes. Happy birthday, America. Plus one day. Now, all those folks that didn't light all their fireworks, they're going to do it again this evening. as I predicted, someone in Florida did blow off their hand a day before, on the 3rd. Thank you very much. It's my honor. Yeah, here we're trying to seek the truth. No spin zone here. I'll still that knucklehead saying, what was his name? On Fox. The no spin zone. Oh, I think Rob may. Oh, Rob, you want to come back in here? I see you there, looking at us. There you go.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I
Okay,
want to
come on.
play.
Does Julie want to play too?
Hey, more power to her.
Yeah, did you send the invites out?
Yes, I put it. Yes, I
Okay.
sent it out.
All right.
She's here.
Oh, she is. I don't see you.
She's in the chat. Do you have a live? Do you have a chat or just the highlighted chat? Did you select a live chat?
Yeah, I got live chat.
Is it a top chat?
I don't know where Talk Chat is. Where's Talk Chat?
Well, it's at the top of the chat. It'll say live chat or top chat.
Okay.
You want the live chat? That way you get it all.
StreamYard live viewers comments show up on StreamYard. Oh my goodness, I have no idea.
I have to pop out the chat on YouTube. You can see it. Or I don't have to pop it out, but I pull it out of YouTube to follow it.
Okay.
So
you're saying I can't listen? I can't hear them live. However,
we can message ourselves in private on the back of it, but I don't know if you can watch the chat unless you do it through YouTube.
Okay, that's fine.
Because I pop it out and have it laid over the browser window for StreamYard, so I can see us in miniature and I can follow the chat beside it.
We're gonna have to work that out, man. I have no idea. Because you'll be talking about one thing and I'm thinking about you're thinking about another.
Yeah.
When I send you the invites, I'm talking about having people like looking at each other, having a conversation. That's what I was thinking.
No, I didn't send her the link for this.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
If she wants to come on, I'll send her that. Or UFO, man. We're not.
Yeah. Any of you guys want an invite? We got a lot to talk about, and might as well get this party started. Just make yourself known that you want to hang out with us and have a conversation, and Rob will do the administrative work and get you set up. I'll try not to bounce my camera so much today. I'm lacking my little pillow I usually have underneath it.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. All right. Let me turn down this music here.
Now we're doing UFOs, planes, trains, and beamers.
Yeah. So what happened today, Rob? Why'd you leave the house today?
A good buddy of mine that has OCD tore half of his engine apart. He had a little leak, and being OCD, took half the engine apart, put it back together, and forgot how it goes back together. So I had to go help reassemble the top end, get the ignition and fuel system coordinating with each other again before he set it on fire and walked away.
Yeah,
we got her done.
I can't tell you how many times.
Oh,
more times than I like. When you complete a job and you have like bolts and nuts and washers left over, you may have forgotten something. Hey, UFO man.
I'm gonna send him a link. You might come on.
All right. Was he doing a lot of traveling here this weekend as well?
No. He had a representative at the Roswell reunion. Tom. Crap. I know his name any other time. I've been out in the sun too long today.
Yeah. He had a representative.
Tom Reed.
Oh, very good. Tom Reed was there. I like Tom Reed.
Yep. I just sent it to him on Facebook Messenger.
Yeah, he's another one I like to get an autograph from and just meet him because it's amazing. It's an amazing story.
Yeah, that's one that you were very passionate about, was that mass kidnapping they did, Berkshire, when he was like 6 years old.
I'm trying to say it. I'm trying to let people know as if to keep the woo out of it. I just say, did you know there's a mass kidnapping in America? Oh my God, you hear about it? Like a bunch of people with like 100 people saw this too. They were kidnapped, men, women, and children, and some of them were even assaulted. And then the kidnappers didn't even have the common courtesy to put them exactly back, not all of them, exactly back where they found them.
Yeah.
That's rude, making that little girl walk home from that lake.
When she was in the driver's seat.
Yeah. Now that was that was Tom Reed's parents, mom and grandmother. Grandmother was, why am I doing behind the steering wheel? I've never driven. We had horse-drawn carriages back in the day. You know, she never driven something with a steering wheel, and then she behind the steering wheel, which tells me they're
fallible.
They're fallible, and they make mistakes, and some of them are
idiots.
Funny. They're idiots, and it's a funny mistake, like getting hit by a train. Now that's funny.
Keystone cops.
Man.
Yeah, fly around, have all that power, and set the cruise control, get hit by lightning, and then crash it into the dirt. I was reading up a little bit more on Roswell. It was 12 football fields of debris that they went out and gathered up, and it wasn't just any infantry platoon. They sent out the only platoon that was trained with our nuclear assets and things at the time. They were handpicked people that knew about physics and everything combined to support that initiative. So these weren't just a couple of privates in a Jeep going out and picking up a weather balloon. It was 12 acres of anomalous materials that they got together and put in a C-130. If it were just a balloon with balsa wood and plastic and tin, or tinfoil, they just put it in a pile and burn it and walk away. Nothing easier. You don't bring in flatbeds, cranes, take it out on a C-130. I never needed a C-130 to haul around a freaking balloon.
Yeah, I mean, all of it would have fit in the back of.
You might check
Colonel, what's his name? Jessup Marcel. It wouldn't. All of it would have fit in the back of his truck or the vehicle that he was driving. Right when he took it to the house and let his kids see it. That should have been all it.
That's why they had to bring in a flatbed and a crane. I mean, that tells me that I think there were two craft involved, maybe.
There was a crash. I heard there was a crash that they found a couple of weeks later, miles away. With some dead stuff in it.
You might check the back room. I think Tim or UFO man might be coming on.
Yeah.
I sent it to him.
I see right down here. I don't see anybody yet, but I will.
And any of you, if you want to join us, knock yourselves out, please.
Yeah, cause it's going to be a good one. I got a lot to say. We got some updates too.
Yeah, we'll hang out with each other. We'll hang out with anybody.
Yeah, we'll very interesting. So I got to tell everybody, last night I was texting, of course, I'm texting Rob. And I said, Rob, have you seen Alaska? What was the name of that show? Alaska UFOs or something like that? It was on Discovery Plus. And I got through this. I think I got to the end of the second show on that. And they were talking about, what do you know? Black triangles. So that goes to our case number 4. And we're going to be looking into that. Been taking some notes. And guess what? The first episode, they're going over these orbs that look just like case number 1 of mine. So, hey, buddy. Hey, puppy. Oh, my gosh. This is the first time I ever had more than one person on the show, but I want to introduce everybody.
Hey guys.
UFO man.
Hey.
Hey. Wow, we got 3 people here. Look at us.
How you guys doing?
We're doing good.
Living large, man. Living large.
I thought I'd come on your channel, Shannon, because I support what you're doing. And I've had long conversations with Rob about it. So
it's a dream. This is a dream come true.
You're going to be growing big time. And I'm looking into the Travis Walton issue in regards to bringing you on. So I'll get back to you on that.
Tim, I don't know if I can do it. But the thing is, I'd be so starstruck. I'd be like this.
Yeah.
Hi, Travis.
No,
Hi.
don't be like that, because what I've learned is just treat them like normal people. I mean,
Oh
it's like
yeah,
how you talk to Lou,
yeah,
same way,
yeah.
same way.
I'm interested in the the different aspect because honestly, we've all seen. I bet you, we've all seen enough documentaries or enough panel um, presentations from Travis that we can almost tell the next words are going to be coming out of his mouth because he's on. He's always been stuck to a story. You know.
I gotta
Yeah.
say hi to Sawan P. Hey, how you doing? Somebody said hi to me, so.
No, by all means, man.
I had a big weekend, even though I wasn't at Roswell. I was being represented at Roswell. And when Tom Reed, who you're just talking about,
That's another guy. Hi, Tom. I'm a big
when
fan of him.
Tom Reed is a co-host on my channel when
Yeah.
Rod's not there, and I have to say this: Tom represented me down in Roswell at the UFO Museum, and when he got out of his car to unload his merchandise and whatever his proof that he was going to
Hmm.
show people, a group of people walked up and said, "Hey, are you on the UFO Man show?" So people in Roswell know who the UFO Man show is, and that's
Yeah.
impactful. I was so just blown away. I was gobsmacked. It was just weird. And then
Yeah.
I got to talk to Travis on the phone, and he gave me his contact information. And then I got to talk to him face to face, like we're doing now. And
Yeah.
I gave him a water bottle that has my logo on it, and he took a picture of it, of him, and somebody took a picture of him and Tom standing side by
I
side.
did see that picture online.
Yeah,
It's on Facebook or something.
I put it on Facebook on my group, and I
That's where
put
I
it on
saw
the
it.
main feed. Yeah, because it's impressive. I mean, come on. Um, I started out like a small channel as well. I don't
Yeah.
forget where I came from. That's why I
Yeah.
go on small channels,
Yeah.
or smaller channels, because it's the small channels that make up YouTube. It's not the huge ones. I mean, there are a few huge ones, but there are more small ones. And we
Right.
can't forget where we came from, right, Rob?
Yeah, and it shows, it shows the true mettle of a small channel is viable for any length of time at all. It's testament to how hungry they are to succeed, and if they have a sincere message to get out, and hopefully, it's a altruistic message to where they're trying to benefit others, not just gain power, money for themselves, and sell something that's not authentic. Um, you find a
Hmm.
lot of like I was called a diamond in the rough recently, that you find a lot of raw talent that has a sincere message and perspective that infuses the topic, with a new life sometimes to help expand it. And that's what it's about. And if we can do that with helping out veterans in the process, or
Right.
anybody else for that matter, we're
Yeah.
not exclusive to one topic. If somebody has a problem that needs to be discussed or something that they don't have any
I,
other to talk to you, we'll stop and address it.
I got to say something to you, Rob. You got demoted to the bottom of the screen.
It's okay.
Yeah, you did.
I'm used to being in rear with the gear.
Yeah, in the rear of the
Well,
gear.
actually, Shannon's having fun with the layout of
Yeah,
StreamYard, which
I'm
is,
yeah,
trying to
see
get
that.
used to it. I'm not used to
yeah.
having three people on the show.
Well, the best thing to do is just have three. Any more than that is really difficult to handle. I've had
Yeah.
four, but I have a show coming up where we're going to have six, and it's on StreamYard, and it's going to be um, a hard task to keep everybody from talking over everybody.
I found that, like when I was a panel member on Thomas's show, what I started doing is this right here. Let me get my little stylus. I started doing this number. It's kind of like, hello, I'm putting my hand up for me, because Rob and I found out real quick recently. We had a board member meeting for the charity, and it did not go as I planned. And when it comes to communicating, and we made some adjustments in that, and that will not happen no more. So that's my suggestion. You got a way to basically, you hold up a little sign or something. Oh, it looks like Shannon has a question, without me trying to talk over, because there is a couple of second delay sometimes. And before you know it, you're always talking over each other, and it just becomes a little bit of a nightmare. And I think something that will help.
I want to say one thing about this channel. Everybody needs to subscribe to it.
Thank you.
Military witnesses to UAP is what we're all talking about in the news. So these guys here are putting their reputations on the line by coming out and talking about it. So please subscribe to their channel, hit the like button, and get them over 1,000 so Shannon can start monetizing the channel and getting members to join, because that's what we want. And I'm all behind them, so please do so if you haven't already. One thing I want to note is the charity that they're running has been named after Shannon, which I think is a great honor.
Very honored.
You deserve it after 20 years of service, Shannon. Thank you for your service.
Thank you,
Definitely.
sir. Yeah, I was blown away when Rob submitted that for Lou's approval. And what was so cool about it is that when I'm gone, hopefully years and years from now, that's another way of my name going on,
Right?
And,
it will, because your charity will continue to grow. That's exactly what it is. Your name will be enshrined, Shannon,
I know,
and you
that's-
deserve it. You deserve it,
Yeah.
and so does Rob. Rob deserves to be enshrined as well, because he's making an impact in ufology right now, because he's doing the research, he's digging deep, and he's sharing it with everybody in the chat room. So thank you, Rob.
Appreciate it. You do a tremendous service to the topic, and as a veteran yourself, that I sincerely appreciate.
Yes, thank you for your service.
Thank you very much. Yes, Shannon, I didn't serve 20, but I did serve 4.
What branch of the service, and what'd you do?
Regular Army. I was a 15 Delta.
No one cares. Rob,
Yeah, I know.
how you doing?
I was a multiple launch rocket systems fire direction specialist with a hard strike rank.
All right.
I was an E5 when I got out. I was up for E6, but I didn't stay in long enough to do that because I got hurt.
Yeah, I was up for E7, but I couldn't pass the body fat measurements because I came down with rheumatoid, and they jacked me up with a bunch of steroids, and I was just over. So, oh well, things worked out anyway. So
you were a staff sergeant. Awesome.
Yeah, I was a staff sergeant, or in the Navy, it's a petty officer first class, or with my rate, it was master at arms first class, SWAW, which is surface warfare specialist and aviation warfare specialist qualifications. That's kind of like a little thing.
I was actually a battalion platoon sergeant.
Yeah.
So you see the guys out there marching. I was the one calling cadence. Go figure.
I was doing
Sean,
that too.
Sean Cahill and I had the same job. I was the chief master at arms on USS Clackern, which is decommissioned.
Which is the top cop, for those that don't know what that is. Top cop on the ship.
Yep, independent duty. Anybody gets in trouble, they come see me. I did investigations. I've done some serious investigations, and let me tell you what I really like. Like I said before, I'm like a hound dog. When I'm hunting for you, I'll do anything to get you. I had a couple of deserters, and at the time, I was on my last deployment. I was in the Black Sea. We just pulled into Ukraine. Had a port call there. Wonderful, by the way. The people there are wonderful, and I'm so sorry they're going through all this crap right now. But I knew I got a heads up on where my deserter was, so I got a warrant for his arrest, and I was emailing the local law enforcement, giving them a heads up where he's at, and they went and they got his butt. So I did that several times. I just love. I'm able to make things happen, and I'm in the middle of the Black Sea. You know, those little things. You know, so.
Now you're going to make things happen in ufology, Shannon, and that's the point.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Yeah.
We need to get the information out there. I do my best with my restrictions on my physical capability, and I know you guys do as well. And I do appreciate your content. Keep it up, keep it going, keep going strong. And as they say in the Marine Corps, because of Rob, hoorah!
Thank you.
In the Navy, we go, Yahoo! No, it's U-Haul. Yeah, well, we always mess that up. So we're not Marines. It was so funny.
We're not Marines either, but still.
I was telling Rob I was going through this auxiliary security force thing for my base. This is before I became a master at arms, and we had this staff sergeant, and he just became gunny. He was promoted to gunny during this exercise, but he would have us marching and running throughout the base, and we were supposed to go hoorah, and we're going Yahoo! It was the funniest thing. Oh gosh, good times.
You got to have good times when you march with your comrades. That's one thing I miss.
It is
from being in the service.
Camaraderie.
It's the march,
Absolutely.
the marching, and being with your buddies out in the field, and actually, experiencing what you're doing.
Yeah,
you're doing it as a team. You're doing it as a team. That's what's awesome. Linda Thompson says, Shannon, I'm in Virginia Beach getting my new car to drive back to Richmond.
Cool.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
You want to buy us a car? I'd love
A
it.
new car smell.
You got a Rolex you want to hook me up with? I'm into watches. So Rolex, Submariner.
Baby Goat says, hoorah.
I got it here. It's
Omega?
It's an $800 Seiko. It was $800 a decade ago. So I don't know what it is now, but it was.
I just love watches.
White watch.
I've
only owned 2 watches though. I just bought this watch. The other watch I had for almost 25 years, so it was time to get a new watch. So
I've got 6 watches, and all of them are over $900.
Phew.
I know, but I bought them with payments, so it was easy to get them. I hardly wear them because they get really hot on my wrist.
Yeah. Why does it get hot? Because of
silicone bands. No, the silicone bands.
Oh yeah,
really bother my skin.
Yeah, I can see that. I think the last one had titanium links all around it. It never
the last
got
one
hot.
I got had white ceramic band, and that was really nice because they're cool.
Yeah. As you were saying, Tim, I believe, this is my belief, it's the witnesses to this phenomenon. Since they're military, it's kind of like very credible, right? This isn't Bubba in West Virginia, the stereotypical type of, UFO witness that sees these things. And when you hear it from the military, it gets more weight to it. Yeah. Whatever Rob just said.
You have a data chain. That's the thing. You can track the data from the source to the report to the document.
Yeah,
that's the point.
Yeah, they've got independent corroborating evidence to lend to their testimonies, and people need to realize, I don't know how Mick West got prominent in his opinions in the first place, but him being so disingenuous as to go against our fighter pilots, not just fighter pilots, Top Gun pilots. They, your basic pilot has to be able to recognize every airframe on the horizon line forward, the silhouette, to know what every craft is, friend or foe, everything, to be an efficient pilot, or you don't get to be a pilot. So to say that they misunderstood a anomalous aircraft flying around in their training space and that you
That's
contest
baloney.
what the pilot said is complete bullshit.
Yeah.
It's baloney. It kind of like the Roswell crash. There's no way they misinterpreted a weather balloon
Yeah.
on a base where they were launching weather balloons all the time. There
Yeah.
is just no way they misinterpreted it. And if you look at the picture, the guy holding the material, not the guy with the cap, with the officer's hat, but the other gentleman that not wearing a hat, he has
That's Jesse
kind of
Marcel,
no, not Jesse Marcel. It was
another guy.
the other guy. He actually looked like he was like, yeah, right.
He's
Yeah.
actually
My
got
whole
testimony out now where he's stating that he was having to pose with that, but didn't say, he wasn't allowed to say anything. But he knew he had been out collecting the real materials and had testified how he picked up a piece that was several square feet of material, but it was tinfoil thin and paper light, where it didn't even have any weight to it, but he couldn't bend it whatsoever. But he was saying he was forced to have to take that picture, against his. He didn't want to have to do it, but he's following orders, and had to keep his
Yeah.
mouth shut for decades. And it's just recent times, like a deathbed confession, he's finally come out and saying, yeah, that was bullshit, and there's none to it. Even Lou stated that that Roswell was an authentic, anomalous craft, 100%. He couldn't say what it was, but he could say what it wasn't. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It wasn't
right.
anything
That's where
conventional.
you read between the lines. Yeah.
Right.
What I was going to say, I talked to Don Schmidt, and Don Schmidt has written like 3 books on Roswell. I think he just came out with a new one. He is a really good asset in regards to discussing the research based on Roswell because he's done it for 40 years. Okay. What I want to say he said was the material, you could hit it with a sledgehammer and it
Yep.
wouldn't bend. Okay. But that is contradictory to what Jesse said when he took a piece of it home to his son and showed it to his son, and he crumpled it up so it did bend, but then it just came back to its normal shape.
I think there's an
Right.
explanation for that too, because they have different materials for different aspects of the craft. Where one would have to
Yeah.
be maybe a rigid hull, but the other one may have been something flexible, like the nose cone on our planes that are easily bendable. Different materials for different applications. Because they said that we have like 90, 89 or 90 something in our periodic table, but they're dealing with at least 250 or 60 because of how they manipulate the isotopes for each atomic weight. So they have a much higher, and the way that they put it together with the metamaterials, they're adjusting it atom to atom to be able
Right.
to have maximum flexibility, superconductivity, you name it, and the highest performance that they can achieve.
Right. What's really interesting is it has been determined from old records that when they did a study on the material, um, they noticed that it is machined in such a way that we cannot create it here on Earth.
Mhm.
It would have to be created in a vacuum, which
Yeah.
means it had to come from space or somewhere else. So it back in 47. Now you were talking about the possibility. I'm going to take a step back. Shannon, you were talking
Yes, sir.
about the possibility of 2 crashes outside of Roswell. There was one near Socorro. That's the one
Yep.
that was really close to Roswell. That's the Roswell crash. And then Aztec, New Mexico.
And that was
the
60 miles
second-
away from actually Roswell, right?
Yeah, and Aztec was the other one.
Aztec.
And supposedly, according to Don, there was a radar system being used in that area that interfered with their propulsion systems, and the 2 discs came together and crashed together, collided, and one actually went down and hit the ground, bounced, and went over and crashed by Aztec, and the other one crashed by Roswell.
Yeah.
The one by Roswell had supposedly 1 living creature and 4 bodies, I think, and then the other one died later, so that's why there were 5.
Yeah.
The
I have a
other
question.
crash-
I have a question real quick to throw in there. when it comes to the witnesses, I was wondering what your feelings were about the mortician guy. Is he credible or not? Because I'm on the fence still on him.
I don't know. I'm on the fence with him too because I've heard that his story has changed over time. And, well, you know how you lose your memory sometimes as you age? Maybe you guys don't know, but in regards to older people, they lose their memory over time and their facts are not always correct. So maybe that's what's happening to him. But we're only taking his word for it. That's the problem.
Right.
We don't have any documentation, any photographs, nothing.
Yeah,
That,
the nurse that he was talking about, they still haven't located her. He said she died in an air in a crash, and that those records have never been come up. So the story's not. It's just not coming together to me.
it's all speculation. We
So
we have a story, and that's what it
right.
is. And then
Yeah.
until we get documentation that's actually legitimate, where you got the correct marks on it, the correct classifications, the correct paper,
Mhm.
the correct year of the paper. You know, you can test paper to see if it's from the 40s or if it's from
Yeah, and the ink also.
and the ink, right. Until we can verify all of that, we just have a story. So you have to take it in, decide on your own what you
Yeah,
think is true and what isn't. And I don't know. I don't know how Roswell, to be honest with you, and I'm all supportive about Roswell, but how Roswell can say it's the Roswell crash when it didn't crash in Roswell. It
Yeah.
crashed 60 miles away outside Roswell. The thing is I thought about this a little bit, and I think it's because the 101st Bomb Wing that was
hmm
in Roswell is the military response unit that responded to the crash. And they're the
yeah,
ones that handled the debris and all of the remnants of whatever was on board piloting it to Roswell. And I think
that,
that's where they get
yeah,
their
that would make sense because they were on hand and trained to mitigate nuclear incidents. If if the test range went wrong, testing out nuclear weapons and things, they need somebody to be on standby to clean up the mess. What they found with some of the anomalous materials that Hal Puthoff talked about is that the magnesium isotopes were flammable, were combustible to oxygen. So it looks like maybe inadvertently or advertently, but they don't know that they explode when they come in contact with oxygen. So kind of like a self-destruct mechanism, whether they intended it to be that way or not. But that could have even been a way of fuel source to where they control the influx of oxygen to their magnesium, and it can create like creating a cavitation in the quantum field, and then it controls the influx to refill it like water would in a void. So
right.
perhaps they can control the influx rate and the burn rate. Because there was those ones where they talked about the craft that were shuttering and ejecting metallic materials out, and then went on again where they're purging out materials. Um, kind of had me thinking that there's something to that where they maybe were using that as a waveguide and maybe some type of energy source where they didn't have to have an engine. They just had to create it in like a zero gravity closed environment and then put it into oxygen and then be able to um, interact with the quantum field. So,
Right.
it's completely rudimentary and just speculative, but it's a place to start.
But it's a great theory. I want to address somebody's comment in your chat room. Indrid Cold said, I remember William Cooper saying they found human body parts in with the wreckage. Well, according to what I understand, the human body parts were in the Aztec crash and not in the one near Roswell.
Didn't the source for that information come from Linda Moulton Howe?
No, Linda actually got it from somebody else. one of the witnesses she spoke to, and then she rebroadcast it. Um, I
Right.
can honestly say William Cooper's been around longer than Linda Moulton Howe, and he's no longer alive, I don't think. But William Cooper actually is the one who came out and said that about the body parts. And for a long time, the Aztec crash wasn't even spoken of because they wanted to keep it under wraps. Because if
Right.
if the human population found out that there were human body parts on board, they may misinterpret why they were there. Because the theory goes is that the ship was a scientific ship, and they were taking samples, like cattle mutilations, things like that.
Right.
They were taking samples of humanoids and taking them back. They weren't eating them or anything like that. It wasn't like that. But of course, nobody knows for sure. So it's kind of a scary.
Could have been a sampler. It was a sampler plate to,
Yeah.
just for somebody there, for Leroy.
Prime steak and cake. You never know.
Yeah,
Anyways,
they may have been abducting and intended to put him back, but I had heard something about that where they fired up a new radar system that they weren't anticipating that it would cause them to crash like that.
I actually heard it was a Doppler, believe it or not, in the 40s. And I never knew that a Doppler radar existed in the 40s until I heard that report. And they still use Doppler today. So maybe that's why we're still having crashes. I don't know. I do know there's shoot down orders with the Air Force. At least that report came out recently saying there are shoot down orders to engage these objects if they pose a threat. If
I've
they
been
act
trying to
aggressively.
find any documentation of that.
I'll look it up and I'll send it to you, Rob.
Good deal. Thank you.
Yeah. Didn't the information come from Colonel Philip J. Corsup and this book here about
In regards to what?
the turn? Basically, wasn't he? I didn't get to this part yet. Wasn't he asked to turn off those radars so those guys can leave the area, or words of that nature?
Yes, that's in that book. I own that book. It was the radars that brought them down. It was a Doppler system, as Rob verified. And I don't know if they were on deliberate because they were tracking the objects or not. I don't know. But it could have been. Who knows?
I remember the pilots in 2015, they were fielding a new radar system where they thought originally that the cubes within spheres were something wrong with the software on it, but they quickly figured out that it wasn't the software. There were real artifacts that they weren't able to see before. And people need to remember on that 2019 incident that where they're trying to say they were just drones. Drones don't cloak themselves. They can't do persistent hovering. They can't go hundreds of miles offshore. These were invisible to the naked eye.
They can't go 17,000 miles an hour either.
Yeah, hypersonic, way beyond hypersonic.
Right.
It's just not even a valid argument to try and say that it was. But they gloss over that part. They don't say that, and they're trying to debunk it of how they can explain that they were cloaked from the visual light spectrum. They conveniently leave out every time that you try and present them with inconvenient truths of facts that are empirical, not just subjective. If they don't have an answer for it, just like with our ancient history research, that we are called alternative researchers because it doesn't fit in the mainstream narrative. But it doesn't make it any less true. In fact, the facts need to speak for themselves, not play to a base with dogma. And just because it's always been that way, that's the way it's always going to be. That doesn't work in these conversations.
Right. I got to say hi to a few people then. I have to say, Sawan P had a really good point. The information probably freaked the people out at the USG when they saw ET with human bodies, hence the National Security Act. That's probably part of it.
Which president was that got really upset? Oh, it was Reagan, I think. That Doty was, Rick Doty was talking about recently in one of his lectures was that they had kidnapped a couple of kids and put them back in the wrong place from parents out of a car. And Reagan was extremely upset about that and wanted to get to the bottom of it and do something about it. So that was very interesting to see. But the inconvenient truths, with these so-called debunkers, they don't have they ignore those inconvenient facts, and that once you lay down the foundation of an argument, and I don't mean as an argumentative, I just mean a debate. If you lay down, bring out like they did in the congressional hearings recently, you put down your foundations, and if they can't answer to that, there's no reason to keep flipping out your cards of more information. If they can't get past the foundations and the basics, then it needs to stop. They're not teachable, and they're not truly in it, to learn something or to gain insight. There's no reason to keep flipping out more information.
Right.
Just move on.
E.T. God said, what if the human bodies were abductees and they had no intention of killing them? That's possibly a scenario as well. We don't know. But the problem is they weren't full bodies, they were pieces. So that's the issue. Why were they just pieces?
Yeah, were they processed like we would in a butcher shop or something, where we would process meats and package them up? Were they cut in orderly pieces, or were they like a wreckage of a plane crash or something where they were strewn out? That would be telling in itself if we had any information on that.
I have no information on that, but what I can say is if people want to look up information on the Aztec crash, dig deep. Don't just settle for the soft explanation they give you on Google. Look even deeper. Try to find connections to the crash, and then you'll find out the information, because that's how I came across it. And then I spoke to a couple people who actually knew about the crash and told me about it, and it totally freaked me. That's scary in my book. I mean, if they're actually taking humans and then doing what Rob said, breaking them up into pieces and wrapping them and then taking them somewhere, other than having them be the result of a crash.
Are they doing a biopsy and taking the entire organ or organs, that they want to research and stuff, or
right.
Who knows? But
this is what gets me about your statement about the crash. Okay, if something would have crashed, right, and the body parts would have been thrown about that were human, then it's very possible that when the crash happened, the aliens would have been broke apart as well, because they were of a physical state. But those aliens weren't broken apart, so the idea of a crash causing it, I don't think that's going to fly.
Well, but they do have those. Corso also had in that book where they were researching the filament fibers, and they were in white suits, so they may have had impervious suits that kept them intact, but it didn't keep from killing them on the impact. You know what I'm saying? It might have held their structure together, but still allowed for the G forces of the impact to kill them, but not blow them apart like flesh and bone would without that kind of a protective coating. Because I know Kevlar and things like that, and spider silk technologies are some of it is reverse engineered materials from that. So that might be an explanation. I don't know.
I'll be right back.
But you with us, Shannon? No, not sure where Shannon's at. Okay, he'll be right back. Yeah, I want to go over this article in a minute when they come back from the Hill, where Mark Rennenkamp, really comes highly recommended with Lou, where he was talking about how our military pilots in the Navy, because of course the Air Force pilots can't talk about it, they're under a gag order, but the Navy pilots have been complaining for a while of not having their superiors listen to them when they're reporting this, and they keep getting closer and closer, in close proximity to the craft, and where we've had, several near collisions now, and even if they don't collide with the anomalous craft themselves, if they're taking evasive maneuvers and they're close to each other, it can inadvertently cause a crash between the aircraft that are out there. But they were, in the Tic Tac Nimitz incident, they're blocking the ability to take off and land planes on the flight deck. And in other instances, they were hovering over flight decks so they couldn't get off the ground. And like, I think it was Ryan Graves talking about it, where they had, when they came out in the morning to do their maneuvers and things, they were there persistently. And when they ended at night, they were there persistently. And that one in 2019 incident, they were not just observing, they were kind of like interdicting and doing harassing maneuvers, that forcing our ships and our planes to change their courses and things in groups. That to me seems to be an escalation of not just being seen in close proximity anymore, but their interactions are becoming more intimate and overt as it goes on. It does look like they're using some kind of restraint. And I have, if you wanted to compare it to human treaties and things, you would have rules of engagement that if you're a monopoly, you write the rules. So they wouldn't. It tells me that from a vantage point that I have with my training and experience, that they probably aren't a monolith. That and I know that they've been, at least part of these have been here probably longer than humans. The history indicates that. That it seems like there's some kind of rules of engagement in place to where they're only using the amount of contact necessary to achieve an objective, which we have no clue what that is yet. But I think us as a civilization need to figure it out. We should have been trying to figure this out back 1966 with the last congressional hearings, but we didn't have the internet back then, where we have instantaneous and widespread communication among the people, where they could keep us in the dark and blinded from this topic. So, it's not going to go back in the bottle this time. We're going to make sure of that. But, they said there's no records left of this. If we look at the Old Testament, the books of Enoch, the book of the Watchers and Giants, and Solomon, you don't have to take it verbatim, but the essence holds true, that there were anomalous little g gods that came down, had all this advanced technologies and stuff that they brought about on the planet, that they had offspring that corrupted human DNA on such a wide scale that, and then there were wars among the loyalists that didn't separate, and against the separatists that were on the planet. They built all these megalithic fortifications, and they're not here anymore. Then there was the flood at 3000 BC that wiped them out. If we want to go by that account, we don't have to believe in the God aspect of it, as I do, but you can look at the essence of it. It still gives a timeline and an explanation that one group broke away from the main group and tried to go their own way with humanity and guide different civilizations, tipping the scales, probably by proxy wars, where each civilization is given advanced technologies to use. And the other one, okay, well, you did that, we're going to balance it out with giving up my crew these kinds of weapons, and then you just keep battling it out until they pretty much decimated each other. And that's what the ancient accounts said. It's not just the Old Testament, it's also in some aspects of the Mahabharata, the Vedics, and Zoroastrianism. They all have an account of wars among gods, even the Inca and Maya in their ancient oral traditions and things. So this is a global experience, just like the megalith builders were global, that we don't know what they are, but from the ancient Sumerian and Akkadian and all that, they keep showing these men that are huge, muscled up people with their handbags and their pine cones that were like the seven sages and Apkallu, watchers. They all have a common theme where beings came from the sky, and that's what Anunnaki means, from the sky who came. Sitchin played fast and loose with that, interjecting the Nibiru story or the rockets and all that didn't exist. That's not true. I can provide a link to the website that has all the clay tablets in there that tell the account of what the Sumerians wrote down and archived, but they even attested to there being a war among the gods and things that for the future of humanity, and it was decided that they weren't going to have any more overt living among man, forcing us into servitude and to deliver their tithe every day at the temples where their food and wine, they really were there, and we were in servitude in some places. Some places we had benevolent little g god overlords, and some places they weren't so benevolent. The evidence is there that they were being mistreated as slaves, instead of revered as as having value as a species. They didn't value us, and that I have a problem with. And apparently, whoever, whatever, if you want to call it God or whatever, didn't agree with it either, and decided that okay, we're going to do things different after the flood. That humanity's been reset several times over. So this is the first time around that we have had humanity be able to evolve as a species. Typically, the evidence is there to show that every 2,000 to 3,000 years, Earth gets hit with at least a hemispherical cataclysm, if not global, that sets us back down to the brink of extinction again, and then we are able to repopulate from there. This 5,000-year run is unprecedented in at least 100,000 years that we know of, because prior to this, it was every 2,000 to 3,000 year cataclysms. So this is our first industrial age, and you have to have a pre-industrial age like we've had, and that would leave a chemical record. And our continents, the crust of that and the bottom of the ocean floors aren't getting recycled. It's like every 200-300 million years that they get subducted. There's no chemical trace of a prior industrial age in all of that. They look for it. There's nothing there. So wherever these technologies evolve from, at least part of what we're encountering aren't from around here, and likely we're not either. There's no conflict as far as I'm concerned of ETs or God. They both go hand in hand. Even Jacques Vallée ascribes to that he says that his idea of the control system, they weren't misunderstood as gods or extraterrestrials or cryptids, that we were shown what we were supposed to see for the people that were supposed to see it at the time. And that doesn't make it an inauthentic experience, whether it be a religious one, an ET one, or a cryptid one. It doesn't invalidate it like some people try to say it does. They were trying to present a message, and even he admits, with all of his research, and I think he's probably the one most in tune with this on the planet, we just don't know what they are. This control system, if it's one entity that's in the trailer at the end of the causeway at the circus, and all the little carnival rides and booths are distractions, if those are ultimately ran by one person in the trailer, or if there's multiple people in that trailer, or multiple trailers coordinating the phenomena, we don't know. And for people that say they do, they're full of shit. Because I'm
full of what?
Yeah, man, they do not know what we're dealing with, and there are likely we have been veiled from many orders and many types, and they have. The ancient history shows it across the board. They have different orders, magnitude, and sect within each, probably each type at some capacity. So it's very complex, and we've been veiled from it all for the past 5,000 years, because if we can't follow basic instructions on how to live and treat each other, why would we need all that other information of all these things existing and their interference? It looks like we were allowed free will and not to be tampered with overtly anymore. And you can't start tampering and interfering. That's a slippery slope until you have everybody in servitude again. So, I don't see that. I do see that we have Overwatch. People think that we're left to the devices of ET and that we have no protection. The fact that we do exist and we're not subjugated like our ancient ancestors were through different points in history, it does lend to there being some kind of Overwatch. We've got all this beauty out there, the ability to love. You've got butterflies and all that. Those are not the signs of a sterile creator that is just creating lab rats or a food source and supplying it with enough food to get it by. That tells me that it was created for us to enjoy the history and our environment and take solace in that and enjoy the ride. And if we were not
Yep.
immortal, we wouldn't appreciate it. If we are immortal in the flesh like we are now, and because like in the fall of Eden, it was the knowledge of good and evil. It wasn't knowledge that was being hidden. It was something to do with knowing what was good and what was evil, basically. And at that capacity, then we become, as little g gods to decide whether we want to be nice to other people or not nice to other people. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people that hurt a lot of people because for a reason, they feel like they've been wronged. And you know, I don't see that we're left to our own devices. I do. They have proven, just like with a quantum consciousness, that remote viewing works. That is a real artifact. They found that prayer actually is a real artifact too. That was probably through the same channel system of this quantum consciousness. That everything is connected, inorganic, organic matter, and energy. It's all interrelated, and it's inseparable. It's like the butterfly effect. You move one thing, every other atom and energy moves in its turn. So I don't believe we're left to our own devices. I do think we've got Overwatch, and I think that even Tom Whitmore has mentioned to me that he feels like from all his decades of research that the phenomena is influencing both sides within our military, our government, and key like scientists and things to try and be pro to getting disclosure out, and some are trying to keep it suppressed. So, which one is good and which one's evil? I don't know if it's even a matter of either or. Like Lou said, instead of choosing to fire at it or shake its hand, maybe we just observe for once and don't do anything. Maybe it doesn't warrant a response, and they may never have what we would most people consider disclosure. They may do what they're intended to do here. And my swag is that maybe they're going to stop us from destroying the rest of the planet along with ourselves with nuclear weapons now, because that's what to me they're telegraphing. They don't give a damn we kill each other off. They just don't want us to take everything else with it. So where does that leave us? I don't know. They could stop at deproliferation. They could be deproliferation in the military, deproliferation, military, and humanity. I don't know. It's something that we need to talk about is a humanity, but we can't have that conversation until humanity understands that this is there and it needs to be discussed. So is that what they're trying to get us to do? I don't know, but it's something as a community and as a people we need to be educated to. Like Lou says, we need to know regardless of what it is. Because like you said with cancer, the analogy, you want to know what you have and face it. We're a resilient race. We'll get through it. Some people will lose their freaking minds over it, but I think for the most part, you have to accept the situation and move on. It's like when you have your years numbered with your lifespan. We think we'll live forever and immortal, and we have a cognitive dissonance against our own death until doctor puts a number on it, like with my dad with terminal cancer. Okay, you've got 3 months to live. That's pretty sobering. And then you start taking things at a lot more appreciation for. We have to understand that we're not alone, and but I do hope at some point in this, in the flesh, that we'll know that we're not left to our own devices and at the mercy of some emerging threat, and we're just gonna be sitting ducks. I don't believe that's not what history shows either. So I'm confident in that aspect that we're not gonna be left alone. Yeah, ET God says prayer is like telepathy to the heavens. Yeah, they have scientifically proven that it does work, that it does lend to steering things to the direction they need to go. Is Tim in the chat? Yeah.
And I got to tell real quick. I want to tell Tim, UFO man, thank you very much. Everything he said. Wow. Thank you. I'm kind of blown away there. What can I say? It's I'm blown away. Thank you for helping promote our channel. We're here for the long run. So Tim, if Rob and I are stepping out of line, we expect you to
yank our tails.
yep, yank our tail, square us away. You know. Yeah, I had to take a phone call. I'm sorry, I had to bail out. That was my doctor's appointment.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she's out of state, so we had it over the phone meeting, and she said she wasn't going to charge me, but ain't gonna be, even if she did, it wouldn't be out of my pocket. Anyways,
We've got Brent
I'd be broke
saying
about 1 month into my treatment with my medication list. Yep, but wow, what did I miss, Rob?
just giving a rundown on the Hill article that I wanted to discuss, where the pilots are getting more and more frustrated because these things are getting more persistent and more close in on their craft and their
Okay.
their training and their training grounds that are 100, some of them at least tens of miles off the coast, if not hundreds of miles. So for them to say that they are just drones, they know, at face value, that's no bueno. That's BS. And then for them to stand up in Congress and try and, they didn't articulate on what kind of drones they are, and in the vernacular for what they are tasked to put down on deck logs and reports, they are not allowed to use the word ET or UAP. So yes, they have to call everything a drone if they don't know what it is. And the pilots know damn well what's not, what they can sort out from being a balloon or something else. They don't like, who likes filling out paperwork? Nobody. But when you see something that completely freaks you out and it may be an endangerment to you or your fellow pilots, you're going to want to put it down. But like the article says, when they're not getting feedback, they get frustrated and they stop reporting it. But they do see this as a problem, and it's a growing problem. They're there when they go out in the morning to the flight deck, and they're there at night when they pack it up for the night. They're being more persistent and more inconvenient with the way that they're closing in on our ships and our aircraft. So they need to stop screwing around with our pilots' lives. This were like Lou said, if this were submarines and Longmouth Clap popping up in the Hudson beside the White House and things, and flying around little anomalous drones, they would be up in arms like they were in '52 with the White House incursions of the many aircraft, anomalous UFOs that we fired on back then. They would take it seriously, but they're playing with the lives of all of our crews out on the ocean and things like that. I have a problem with that. We do need to figure this out.
Rob, I got a question for you. Are we taking a step back? Because the policy was that it's now okay for these pilots to come out and fill out these safety reports, that there's no longer this
stigma.
Yeah, of the saying UFO and stuff, and it's been on the news 100 times. We all seen it on whatever news station. And now, is this now different? Are they now feeling the pressure again?
Yeah, the Navy is a lot more forthcoming, who set up reporting structures for their pilots and things. But and they are I think at some capacity giving feedback, but as the Hill article states, not enough. They're still very frustrated that they're not getting top-down answers, and I'm sure they are extremely disappointed to see Moultrie and Bray out there that are supposed to be representing them minimize this topic when they weren't there. They're not even briefed on them having the incursions on our nuclear facilities that were dozens of times in U.S. and Russia, and they didn't just turn them off. There were documented cases by the government itself of them turning them on for the United States and Russia. But, some of our people we talk with, like Lou, probably can't speak to that because it was one incident. And if he learned it through his official capacity, he can't talk about that because of his NDA. But we can talk about it because we know it's out there in the public record. We can say what they're not allowed to, because that was part of the problem. The Air Force says that they compiled a reporting mechanism for their pilots and their crewmen and on bases, but they're not walking the walk with it. And they gave a gag order to their pilots to double down to where they can't talk to the press or anybody else without their approval, or they get court-martialed and prosecuted. So they have created an oppressive regime in the Air Force once again, to discourage it when trying to say to Congress and the people, oh yeah, we're on top of that. No, you're not on top of it. And if you are, you should be sharing it with Congress, which you're tasked to do, but they're not. I would even beg to argue if the Air Force doesn't want to play ball with their top brass and things, let's put Space Force over control of the Air Force. See how they like it for a little while. Maybe they'll comply
Yep.
then, because Congress has the ability to do that. They are not a fourth branch of our government, and they can't keep screwing around with it like they are. They have to report, like they're tasked to. We had this argument way back in the early 50s, I think, where they had to separate military powers and stuff from civilian ones because they were overstepping their authority and infusing themselves into civilian politics and things to try and control it. That's no go. You can't do that. So yeah, they say it in token gestures that our pilots are in the Navy and the Air Force are able to report, but they also put a gag order on them and watching Congress because they're not. It doesn't appear that they are getting any feedback from their reports yet either, to know how to handle these. And this article states that reflects that frustration is that these people still ongoing are not getting instruction and recognition for what these are and instruction on how, what is it, how do we mitigate it, or how do we ignore it, whatever the case may be. But they want to have that conversation with their superiors, but they're not getting any feedback yet. That has to change. We can't put people out there and risk their lives in these $1 billion worth of equipment. And I don't care about the equipment. I care about the lives. Those are being put at risk when they're not getting adequate instruction on how to deal with this. It's just like being in combat and you have little kids running up with bulky clothing on that, have a history of blowing people up. We kind of need some instruction here on how to cope with that. What are our orders of engagement? We need to know.
Right.
They can't do their job effectively if they don't have the tools to do it with. We're not equipping our soldiers with what they need in the field because this landscape is changing and quickly evolving. They need the tools to succeed. And for them in Congress, for Bray and Moultrie to say that, well, as the Air Force, we'll figure out what this is, and if necessary, we'll mitigate it. No, you won't. They don't even recognize what this is yet. How the hell do they think they can mitigate it? If they don't even know what they're dealing with, they still think it's drones. They didn't know about the most well-documented nuclear silo incursion documented by the government itself. They didn't even know about that. So that told our military, the boots on the ground, that they don't know a damn thing about what's going on.
Honestly, so, I think you and I, Rob, could do a better job than who's in there right now. I don't know. That's just me. I would hire me and you, definitely you. I mean, I've only been studying this for a few years now, and I knew all these cases they're talking about, and it's like, really? Roll my eyes. And we know these craft, well, those who were behind it, they're fallible. That's the big revelation I made this week. My opinion. This is not a fact. This is just my opinion. Whoever's behind the wheel, Leroy, he makes mistakes. He makes big mistakes. And if they can make mistakes by not knowing, being kind of tunnel vision, looking at something and not looking around, well, if they're sitting on train tracks, they're bound to get hit. And that's what happened a few years ago. And collisions can happen, so they're fallible.
Yep. ET guy was writing.
What's that? I was wondering if you and I were you were on the road and we were talking, and you and I were talking about something about that. You've made some connections, and I was wondering if you wanted to go over those connections now, or maybe do it at another time. It's up to you.
Which connections?
The symbols.
The what?
Symbols. Lonnie Zamora.
Yeah.
On the craft.
That was something that was curious to see how the I-beam at Roswell seemed to have some similarity to some of the ancient scripts that we know of that indicate these have been around a long time.
Well, I guess
So
I'll make a Google search and I'll pop up these images and I'll see if there's any similarities. Maybe somebody out there. I know we have other researchers
yeah,
like
I'm not
ourselves.
sure if Andrew's compiled a file on those or not. I know he's working on it, and
Yeah,
I'm very much looking forward to going through his latest catalog of megalithic structures, statuary, hallmarks of the ancient megalith builders. It's like I think he's up to 6 or 8 gigs now of photographs, um,
right.
and growing. So that, that's going to be a lot of fun to go through. So I was asking him to put the things that resemble potential ancient paleo contact with other beings, whether it's craft or creatures, whatever. Sort those into another file and let's go through them. I want to
Word.
see. There's very little people out there that have the authority of research that have any knowledge of ancient history within this capacity. They have a rudimentary knowledge base, but they're relying on mainstream knowledge bases to draw from. They're not
Right.
so much looking at the alternative field of us researchers, but we have a better grasp of what's out there than the academics do. They have their poorly written textbooks of history books that show only the accepted narrative, and they fill in the gaps with speculation, and they called it fact, and then
Yeah.
they won't look at anything different that we have discovered. And when
Right.
we've got such a huge body of evidence out there that can't be refuted, um, but nobody's listening, and it needs to be considered to have what happened in antiquity, because some of these beings are still here. They're still interacting with us in different ways, but they're persistent. They're still here. And if we have some of the same script on our craft now that we had them in antiquity that they were documenting, what does that tell us? Let's look at the ancient um, narratives. It doesn't have to be just one religious document. Let's look at
Yep.
all of them. Um,
Right. Rob, I want to interject a comment here that I remember something that it's a puzzle piece, and this goes into this puzzle piece right here. I remember the story about the ancient um, Japanese writing, and it had the story about finding this girl in a craft, small boat looking ship or whatever, and it had writing all over it. And then that writing looks similar to other recent discovery writing. I believe there was a Marine who was traveling and he had a very close encounter and he was able to sketch down the symbols and things. And it looked a lot like, exactly like what the markings were on that craft. So that's something that hopefully we can do on this show is do the research and let's connect the dots and make this make sense.
and then there was Deep Prasad, the one of the most brilliant physicists on the planet. He had a what you would call an abduction experience. Laying in his bed, they came to him, the three ETs, and the craft. He would look up, and the craft would be in his house, and he'd look back down and it'd go away, and they were forcing him to look up again. And one of them they had on white skin tight suits, and one of them had these pictograms going around on his chest that were different iconography. They kept showing him different ones in rapid fire, and also telepathically inserting them in his head, that he was trying to absorb. And he's got sketches of those out we can go through at some point and look at. And Bud Hopkins, I think, also worked with George Knapp or somebody, where they had character sets from the Sirocco or what it was crash that they sketched out. I think Jacques Vallée um, and the movie producer talked about.
Okay, I believe we're live. Hi, everybody. Welcome to
Oh,
Intelligent Disclosure. I'm Richard Dolan with my wife.
Yeah, that sounds
no.
like Richard Dolan.
Yep, it is. He's hanging out in the back. I told him to wait until I were done
Yeah,
with the live
tell Richard to come over here. I'd like to have him on my show. He can be my actually he'll be the third. UFO Man was our second guest, right?
Yep.
Yep. Richard can be our third. I remember I was on your show before you even had 1,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
Hey, here's another puzzle piece. A lot of stories that I hear, and you just mentioned it, these occupants, whoever they are, they like wearing skin tight stuff. You notice their wardrobe,
Yeah.
the
Men in tights.
descriptions, even going to the aerial phenomenon, and you hear it's always skin tight, right?
Yeah.
So
Aerial school, they were talking about them. They're in black skin tight.
which it's hot there in Ariel. I don't know. That's they're not local. They're wearing skin black,
That was
black
just,
skin, hot. That stuff gets hot, folks. So
yeah,
they didn't stay long. They got back. I bet their crap has air conditioning.
I
What do you
bet
think?
so too.
I bet
Yeah,
so
that'd
too.
be the
Hey
shiz.
Leroy, turn that
Mhm.
AC. Shut the door, Leroy.
It's making icicles, man. The humidity out here. No,
Oh man.
Nick West said it was just the kids misunderstanding a guy, in the African bush wearing, welding goggles in a black suit. Yeah, because
With
in
dreadlocks.
Africa, you have welders hiding in the brush everywhere, with their suit and their goggles.
They
You know,
pop
and
out of those flying craft all the time.
yeah, and they're swelling heat. They drop down in their UFO and weld it up, doing a little, I don't know, repairs after getting hit by a train. That
Yeah.
kind of BS. Yeah, just complete
Yeah.
stupidity to put that out there. That
Yeah,
was
my
funny.
observation, and here we are. We're going off topic here. It's okay. The aerial phenomenon, the witnesses, the kids were talking about how that there was a way that these things were moving. I hear that a lot too. That's another puzzle piece. People from the outside looking in, they see around the craft. I think they see things differently because of the fluctuation or the dilation of the space-time matrix, and because of that, it looks like from the outside when you're inside the bubble and something moves, you're not seeing it till maybe a little bit later, and then another wave comes and they're back over here, and I think that's what happens because this is another puzzle piece that goes to Rendisham, RAF Binkwaters. That those guys talked about like they were struggling to move forward to get close to the craft, like it was like a pushback. So I think that's the bubble. I think that's the space-time matrix, and I'm sure there's some biological effects involved in that. And yeah, there you go. There's my 2 cents. I'm probably right.
Where they're getting electromagnetic radiation effects that are
non-ionizing radiation, whatever that is.
Yeah, Kit Green and Gary Nolan did, from the Weird Desk, looked at 100 cases of servicemen, 25 of which died. So it's no light matter. Like Hal Putoff said, you don't want to be near one of these things when they're powered up. They're dangerous.
Yep. Ocean need to come and get these guys some instructions on how to be safer around our citizens.
It's like they need to be OSHA compliant, man.
Yeah.
They need to follow some lockout tag.
We'll have to have protests. ETs, OSHA compliant. ETs, OSHA compliant, because you're hurting people.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they don't even know they're doing it, but I guess that's their fallible part. That's the Leroy in them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You can take the alien redneck out of the ocean, but you can't take the ocean out of the redneck. Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
They just good old boy rednecks. There's probably some backwoods hillbilly ETs out there.
Yep. See if we got any questions out here. Yeah, I'm tired of hearing about drones too, man.
We have to back up and look at that though, because like Lou and many others have stated, they weren't trying to be deceitful by writing that down on their reports and things, but they are going by procedure and what they're instructed to do. They had to use different terminologies, but it wasn't understood in each respective demographic they were in of what that represented. So drones is the new vernacular for UFOs on deck logs and pilot reports, because pilots don't report unless there was a near miss of a conventional drone. But like the Hill article states today, there are very few instances when there are going to be drones in their training areas because they are so far from shore, unless they had submarines and anomalous boats and things around to keep launching from, which they would see. None of that is there. And even one of them, I think, was 2019, where they said, well, there was a fishing trawler in the area that had drones. Yeah,
Yep.
they went on board and they looked at those drones. They were operational, but they weren't the kind that could be persistently hovering or flying against the wind at 120 knots. They never said in that report or in their report to Congress or anybody else that those were the drones on the deck of those ships that were persistently harassing our planes and our ships. They didn't say that. And the pilots, according to this article, are completely infuriated by that, and they know it's complete bullshit. But they've used the term drones in their FOIA and deck logs and things to avoid triggering UFOs or UAP in the report. They're not allowed to use that language, so they have to report it in the only language they're allowed to use. So, yeah, technically they are drones, but they didn't say in the congressional hearings if they were human-made drones or otherwise made drones. They didn't make that distinction, did they? And I know damn well from all the foundational questions Congress asked them, they were laying their cases to drill down. The nuclear site incursion was the best, well-documented one, and we even have some living witnesses to that. That are going to, I think Solace is what his name is. I can't remember his first name right now, but they are testifying how many of their nuclear facilities had incursions and they couldn't stop the launch sequence, or when they were shut off, they couldn't turn it back on.
Salas, is that right?
Yes, Solace. Yeah, Solace. But yeah, they're laying out the case in Congress. It is far from over. Just like getting the Wilson documents admitted. If those weren't genuine, they wouldn't have admitted them into the congressional record. They are playing 3D chess with this and tightening the noose where they are going to keep tightening it up until there's no wiggle room left. They're going to have to acknowledge it. They tried to back them into a corner where they would acknowledge that they had anomalous drones in outer space in an orbit, in which case, it's game over. He's trying to say that they are human origin, but they will get there. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. They may not. They are so hubris in their arrogance. They may not see it yet, but they're living. They have an illusion around them of superiority and smugness, frankly, that really pisses me the hell off.
Yeah.
They're going to be put in their place, or they'll be replaced. Either way, it works for me. I don't care what they do with them, as long as they either tell the truth or they get the hell out and put somebody in that seat, that's willing to.
Right.
They take orders from us. They forgot that. They serve the American people. They serve our Constitution, just like I swore to do, just like you swore to do when you took the oath of enlistment. And they are violating that oath, and they are aiding and abetting the enemy by obfuscating the truth and not protecting our troops, which should be their first line of interest, and it's not.
Yep. UFO Man says the Wilson docs are legit. Even Lou was shocked that they were released publicly.
Yeah, and the reason that Wilson is so adamant about not acknowledging that they're true is because as soon as he does, he triggers an FBI investigation on him, because it doesn't matter that the documents are out now. He would still be investigated for releasing classified information and be court-martialed for it. And to think that they're not sitting there waiting to pull that trigger, just like they're doing on those persistent evaluation, waiting for him to trip up and say something he shouldn't. That's why there's the talk of immunity for congressional hearings, that they can say what they know and not be prosecuted for it. Wilson has to have immunity or amnesty, as the case may be, to be able to speak to the authenticity of those documents before he can ever say anything. Otherwise, he gets charged with high felonies, and he can't do that. So of course he has to say that no comment or they're not real, because if he acknowledges they are, he goes to jail flat out.
Yeah,
and I don't blame him for staying quiet on it until you get some kind of a deal, if it ever happens.
Yeah, I looked into the Wilson document, and if anyone cares about my opinion, I'm 98.9% sure that's high. That's real high. That they're for real. They're for real. It's all about the chain of custody, and it goes all the way back to astronaut. What's his name? Mitchell. Edgar Mitchell. Yep. Goes to those papers in his desk that, I guess what was supposed to happen, he had a burn bag and he didn't put it in the burn bag. He had it actually in his drawer, right? So when he passed away, family members go, "We need this drawer." So this is all junk. So they boxed it up, and someone came along and said, "Hey, friends, let's go ahead and just hold on to this. This is good stuff." Woo! And before you know it, you got people like Richard Dolan seeing this stuff a long time ago. He's seen this stuff a long time ago, along with what's his name? Brain fart. Others. White House, UFO White House. What's it? Paper research guy. What's his name? Someone help me down here, doggone it.
What is the context?
Oh, he's got his YouTube is White House UFO Papers or something. It's a no name in the community, very no name. Come on, folks, tell me what it is in the chat room.
I have to hear this.
Yeah, hold on, it's going to come to me. Grant Cameron, thank you.
Yeah.
George, you won the internet, dude, for being the first. Yes, Grant Cameron has seen these papers, and he knew that was a hot potato, and he was hoping others would lead with that. He didn't want to lead with it, so it don't matter. It's out. As Richard Dolan said, probably the most important UFO paperwork has come out ever, maybe. So I believe they're key to unraveling a lot of things, because that's true. Yeah, go ahead.
There was that paper that Jacques Vallée found in Hynek's desk, or his file papers, that spoke to the legitimacy of this being other entities. That was a correspondence with somebody in the government that authenticated that was the real deal, and it discussed the incursion over the White House in 1952 with several craft, and that one of them had a piece shot off of it, and Battelle Labs was the recipient from there. I forget the name of the documents now, but it's something I'm going to look into, because when it goes into it evolves later into our favorite group, the NEO. Help me out here. Not the Air Force, but our nuclear, the ones from the crash in Peru. DOE.
Oh yeah,
guys.
DOE.
Department of Energy. Yeah.
Our wonderful camis. We don't follow the Constitution, guys.
Yeah. Black pajamas.
You know what? I do, and I'm coming after you.
Yeah.
I will find out who you are.
It morphed into them getting their hands in this.
Yeah, they mess with the wrong Marine. Don't mess with the Marines. I got a question there for you. It says, other than the Wilson Davis notes, who would you like to see testified that is underlooked in the conversation currently? I have one. He's a friend of ours. It's Lou. I would love to see Lou.
Yeah. Who would be underlooked to be in the conversation? A lot of people have already talked about wanting to see Lou and Christopher Mellon there. Hal Puthoff, Travis Taylor. There's several people that have been in the UAP task forces, and some of those that, if they're still around from Blue Book, and of course, whoever was in other government-funded program, UFO research programs, but also there are people within these partnered DARPA industries, the aerospace industries, that are holding secrets in tandem with the Army and the Air Force and things. that are sitting on high technologies and information, but they feel pressured not to come forward with it. I think I think it's a matter of time that some are actually found to be in criminal contempt. I think I want to see some of them come forward. I don't want any national secrets and classified information revealed that is going to in any way jeopardize our legitimate national security. But there's a lot that can be shared that doesn't jeopardize it. I mean, they can come out and say, yeah, we got some goodies here. We can't tell you in the open hearing what they are, but we'll tell you in the private one, and we'll have full disclosure with it. And, you know, like Richard Doty said, you know, we'll never get it all fleshed out and find all those dark silos. But, you know, if every single one of them that we can flush out is a step closer to learning what we're dealing with and sharing across our intellectual community and our military community. Because you can't have these few dark silos coveting this like the Air Force is doing, like the DOE is doing, and not even having crosstalk. You know, because like with the Navy, you know, with the Tic Tac encounter, of course the Air Force would have information on that to come to bear. So would NORAD, several other organizations tasked with watching our skies. They know damn well what we're dealing with, but they're not telling the Navy that I'm aware of. They need to. They're not doing their job. You know, at the end of the day, it's all about protecting our sovereignty, our citizens, and especially our military out there doing that job day in and day out. They're not equipped with the best tools available to do their jobs and to protect them, to allow them to do their jobs. They're setting them up to fail when they're obfuscating like this and not speaking the truth.
UFO Man says he'd like to see John Brennan, former CIA director, up there as well. Yeah, because if there's one that would know, he would be the one who would know too.
Oh yeah, yep. He knows some stuff. He's even said it as much. But yeah.
Yep.
See you later, Julie.
Bye, Julie. Okay. An earlier question we had this evening: does anyone know when the NDAA 2023 will be signed? I have no idea what that is. You have an idea? All right, that's fine.
I know what it is.
Okay. No idea what the answer is.
National Defense Authorization Act.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. If I was an intern for congressman, I'd probably know that.
I'm watching it. I have a notification on my email. If something moves on that, you know, I'll know. But those wheels turn slow, and it's an election year. They're distracted with their dog and pony shows on both sides. We have to be able to catch the timing for the next round of UFO hearings when it's not going to be such a distraction, because we had, you know, unfortunately another mass shooting around the time that the UFO hearings were last time, and it took a lot of media coverage away from the topic that otherwise would have been there. So timing with this is everything. They needed, you know, they couldn't foresee that, but I have to wonder, and I'm not big on, you know, far out there conspiracies, but with the Vegas shooting, that was just so anomalous, and there was never any good explanation for it, of why the guy did that. Even his own brother was completely blown away that took place, and there's so many inconsistencies with that narrative. You have to wonder what or who is influencing these people and what their objectives are, because it almost seems like these are things to shift power and persuasion around. And even if they're, you know, like an MK Ultra, you know, used to think all that stuff was just complete urban myth, just like I thought UFOs and Bigfoot were urban myth at one point, and skinwalkers and cryptids. And nope, they're not. Like even Lou stated recently that they're having serious archaeological digs in his area of solid evidence to show that there are people that live there as a civilization that are only like 18 inches tall. There's that mummy called Pedro they found in an ancient Indian burial cave, and they have all kinds of legends. Well, not just legends. They've got traditions where their shaman talk to the little people, and they're a bunch of fierce little warriors that, you know, fire-breathing little, you know, boogers with sharp teeth. Some of them are cannibals. That may be kind of, you know, to keep the locals away from their mountain, but nonetheless, they existed. And, you know, we have to not lose sight of that there's just so much we have been veiled from as a species, especially the last 200 years, as communication got global. It's stopped and as we got more industrialized, all these things digressed from our civilizations that they weren't killed off. We don't find their bodies laying around, just like in Skara Brae and in Scotland. Those.
Right.
I looked at many websites recently, and none of them talked to the fact that in those habitations, the doorways were less than 3 feet tall, and their beds were not over 3 feet, in length. They inconveniently took that out of their. Now, I remember looking at this 4 years ago, and there was an abundance of sites that talked about that. Even UNESCO documentation that attested to the height of the people that lived there. It wasn't just a couple of dwarves living among taller people. It was entire communities for hundreds of years. And there are civilizations like that, dwellings on the Azores and Malta, and other islands. They're global. These little people are global. They've got tunnels crisscrossing under the Europe everywhere. To say that they're just myth and superstition, like religion too,
Yeah.
people try to say, oh, that's just, bullshit, but aliens are real. That's short-sighted. That's just one.
Leroy's for real, man. Leroy is for real.
Yeah, that's just one part of the overall big picture. Yeah, Jacques Vallée did talk about that. And the last place for them to go out of vision was the Fey people in France. They still believe in them today as being a part of their community in times past, and they didn't start digressing from humanity, just like the little people in the Americas with the Native Indians. It was only within the last 200 years that they've digressed. Where did they go? To think that, I've read a lot of accounts lately, especially that there can be many pockets of civilizations inside our Earth's crust, under our oceans. There's no reason to think that these, being that advanced in things, why wouldn't they go deep into the Earth where they had the best protection from these cyclic cataclysms? Because it's just a matter of time that it hit again. Why build all your brick houses on top of the Earth where they're going to get wiped out when you could build deep and they never get wiped out? And they don't get.
Yeah, I just can't wait for more pictures and videos to come out on this. That's what I want to see. I like new discoveries. The Discovery Channel, when they used to have like shows before reality shows came along, and
ET got talking about them in Indonesia. I have seen some documentaries recently in the last few years where they were filming people and they got footprints around their gardens that are not over 3 feet tall that are still there. There's no reason to think
I'm going to have to look for this. That's very interesting. Yeah, that sounds really.
Yeah.
I got a question for you, Rob. We're coming up on an hour and 44 minutes. I need to take a dinner break. I was wondering, would you be willing to come back here sometime this evening, and we can do another one, because I got a lot to say, and or just chit chat with you on the phone, or well, it's up to how you're feeling.
Yeah, I need to take a break. Being out in the heat and been over the engine compartment for a while.
And if you feel motivated, we can come back. That's an option. So everybody, make sure you hit that notification bell so you never know when Rob is like, you know what, I need to do this. I got something I need to say, because once you get him going, he's like that freight train. Hard to slow him down.
Yeah, I get passionate when we start getting our troops endangered. I get a little motivated.
I do too. I do too. I'm glad we put out what we did. All right.
So on there were collisions with. We got a question in the chat real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Someone was asking if there was a collision with UAP with Navy jet fighters and then disappeared. It's like what Ted Rowe said, with even civilian or military craft, there's so little left in a wreckage to know what they actually hit. But I was looking into, somebody in our chat here was nice enough to send me the articles. I can't remember who right now. I'm having a little brain problem, but they sent me the articles on nose cones that were caved in on commercial flights that said it was a bird at 30,000 feet, which no. It may have imploded, but there were three different occurrences that are happening. And one of them ripped a freaking hole through the side of it that was a bird and it was bloody. But this one left a dent in it, but it wasn't bloody. It looked more blunt force trauma. You're not running into, kegs floating around at 30,000 feet to bounce off the nose cones. And that seems like a cover up to me.
That's odd. Yet what would be the information I would want is exactly when did this happen, because that would tell you a lot. 30,000 feet. Yeah. You're not going to be getting any type of DJI drones. Nothing like that. That is 2008, huh?
Yeah, they didn't have it.
That's well, we need to look into that. That's something.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things we got to look into.
George Hernandez, I'm not gonna panic. I have faith that whatever these are, and I have faith in God that is going to look after us. And if not, then I'm not going to live my life worried and panicked about what I can't control. And most of this is not going to affect our daily lives in the least that I'm aware of. And until I know it does, I am curious. I want to know, but we can't lose sight of what's important in our daily lives and lose balance to where we're not taking care of the daily tasks and the people in our lives. They've got to come first. This is a hobby for me. It's very important because the community and the military are important to me. So I want to get answers to this, but I have got to keep perspective and balance with my life, as we research this as a community. So put first things first. I'm probably gonna live long enough to see the next cataclysm, so I'm not gonna start digging a hole. I have thought about building a nuclear fallout shelter, which is, if you've got it, do it. But we can't cover everything.
Right there. Hey, I wanted to tell you. Oh, hey, I think it's over. Housekeeping. If you guys remember our last broadcast, the middle of time.
You're cutting out, man.
Okay. Oh. Am I better?
You're garbled.
Okay. Let me know when I'm starting to look better now.
It's your audio that's weird. It sounds tinny on my end. I'm not sure how it is for the rest of the people.
The 1, 2, 3, 2, 1.
You're breaking up bad, man. We're gonna have to call it a day and come back later and hit it. Can't hear you. No bueno.
Oh, I look now, Rob.
Yo, loud and clear.
Okay, very good. I blame this on my cable company. This time of day, let's see. It is 7:16. People are done with dinner and they're sitting back getting on the internet, on Facebook and stuff, watching this show is what they ought to be doing. But I wanted to. This is a side note, and it's kind of funny that I stopped the show. On our last show, I kind of stopped and read a comment. No, Mikey, I leave that there. I got it. Bye. I got it. That someone was saying just bad stuff, just horrible things about the show and me and being disgusting and whatever. And I got to thinking about it. Like, if you come across a channel and it's not what you expect, what do normal people do? They just
go on.
They move along, right? So after the show, I said I was thinking about it, and just to let everybody know, it took about less than 15 seconds, and we easily identified the person who sent that message. However, I know that person still watches the show, and I thank them, and thank you for being part of the show by just watching. I know you obviously care what we say because you're still watching the show right now. So there you go. Everybody put it there.
yeah, I just, it's just a matter of a difference of opinion, and some fundamental differences, and that's okay. We're allowed to have our own opinions. I'm allowed to change my mind. I'm under no contract, and last time I checked, I was free, white, and over 18. So, no, I'm doing my own thing, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm sorry if some people think there is.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah. We just have big plans in the future and things like that. It's so petty. I laugh at it. That's the only thing I'm getting out of it is the entertaining factor out of all of this. I'm not like going to go out and weep into my pillow as soon as the show is over. I actually find it funny because I see big things coming up for this channel. Big things for Rob and I. Rob doesn't know, but we're planning on going to do some events in the future. I'm planning on getting better. My health is going to get better. It has to, because I want to use my RV. I want to be able to go and see folks here, there, and there. I want to go to these different. I want to go to the 75th anniversary. It's going to be another 25 years until they have a big one, right? The 100th anniversary of Roswell. Holy smokes! I hope I'm around for that. I'll be old, but that's okay. I'll be 85 or 80, something like that. That's okay. You'll be like 102, So.
Yeah, older than dirt.
Yeah. Some news on the charity. Made contact with the Wounded Warrior Project today, and we got the conversation going. They're helping us, so that's good. We're moving forward. Nothing but good things are coming, and there's some things that we can't share, but they will all come to pass. I assure you that. But other than that, there, Rob, you going to be going to bed early tonight?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure because I'll do some more research, chit chatting with you. Chit chatting.
Yeah.
I like everything. Oh, by the way, in the description, I did a link to our Facebook group page. So please, if you have that in the description.
You're gargled again, dude.
Oh, geez, Louise. Oh, man, am I still gargled? Doodly,
no.
Doodly. Let me pop out.
Those damn aliens are jamming our signal.
I know. It's Leroy.
Yep.
Yeah,
fix that antenna.
Man. It is. All right. Any comments, questions, thoughts, concerns before we close this out?
Nope. I just want to thank everybody for being here and your ongoing support, and it's tremendously appreciated. It's a community for all of us. We're not doing this just for ourselves. It's a place where we want to have allow people a safe place to share their ideas and not be discriminated against for it. So yeah. Any discussion, even if you abjectly disagree, as long as we can be civil about it, I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's cool.
This is fun. We're having fun here. We're learning and we're putting the pieces together. We got our cases and we're working on them slowly but surely. All right, folks. But other than that, I hope you have a great evening. And like I said before, make sure you hit that notification because you just never know when you'll see us again. All right. Good night.